Hello, hello, it's me, Arden Lee, and today I am going to talk about the practice that I guarantee you, if you do this and you stick with it and you make it a habit, you will absolutely get happier over time. In fact, it can start even working the very day that you start using it, but definitely over the span of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, I'm going to tell you this will absolutely change and transform your life. I guarantee it. Absolutely, if you do it. Before I get to that, I am the creator of the Repatterning Project, and to find out a little bit more about that, that is a thought collective and an 8-week course in which we hack our beliefs to optimize our lives for success and happiness. So check that out. It's in the description box. You're going to find a link to a free guide about the repatterning modality, and also a link to a community on Facebook where you can join me and others like you who are also looking to hack their personal growth. And today we're going to talk about happiness. And this is actually one of the things that I teach almost immediately in my 8-week course. So what I'm sharing with you today is something that is a stringent part of the curriculum. In fact, I would say it's one of the backbones. So this is a big one that I'm putting out there today. So I hope you guys take this to heart. Let's talk about what it takes to get happier. Oftentimes people think that happiness is this thing that is outside of us, right? That if I had this, I would be happier. If I had more money, I would be happier. If I was in the right relationship, I would be happier. But unfortunately, what ends up actually being the truth is that those goals are so much more likely to come to us if we figure out how to achieve the emotional state that we want without them. And sometimes, and people are really scared of that, right? Because they want the thing that they want so much, and they're so afraid that if they learn how to be happy without it, then they won't want the thing that they want anymore, and they don't want to not want the thing, they want the thing. So it can be there can be a lot of resistance through that belief. But if you just start this practice, I guarantee you're still going to be able to manifest all of your goals. They're going to come to you even more easily, and you'll feel good about them, but they'll be coming from that place of choice and not that place of desperation or not that place of excuse making. So I really, really, really encourage you, if there's one thing that you learn from my videos, let it be this one. Let it be this tactic that you start with it today. Start today. There's no time like the present. So here's a little thing that I want to teach you about called impact bias. And impact bias is a phenomenon that I first learned from an author named Dan Gilbert, who gave a TED Talk where he talked about impact bias. And essentially, what impact bias is it's something that is in our minds that makes us think that the outcome that we achieve will have a greater impact in our lives than it actually does. So if we're like, when I get that relationship, then I'm going to be super happy. What happens? Well, we get in a relationship, and for a little while we're like, wow, this is awesome, I'm finally in a relationship. And then slowly our baseline happiness goes back to exactly where it was, and we're like, this sucks. My partner wasn't that immediate, like, it didn't solve everything. It's like, I'm still in that same kind of place that I was. It must be my partner's fault. It must be that they're not doing enough. This is not the right relationship. They weren't the one, right? Does this sound familiar? Sometimes you're like, if I had that job, I would be super happy. If I had that perfect job. So you go out and you apply for it, and one day you get that job, and it makes you so happy. You're like, oh my God, I got the job. And then 3 months later, you're like back to your same old mood again, There was actually a study done where people who won the lottery and people who became paraplegics were surveyed, were interviewed before before they either won the lottery or became a paraplegic, and about a year after they either won the lottery or became a paraplegic. And what Dan Gilbert says in this TED Talk is, he's like, so they were asked about their happiness levels. Now you would think the lottery winners would be like, oh, hey, my happiness level is here. And paraplegics, oh, mine is like all the way down here. I'm in a wheelchair all the time now. And no, that actually wasn't true. Their baseline happiness changed maybe just a tiny bit. really didn't, affect it that much, which means that, all these things that we think about, like, oh, if I won the lottery, I'd be so super happy. Well, science says that you're probably wrong about that. So even if you think that you might be happy if you won the lottery, the odds are that you would actually only be slightly happier, and you'd still have all of your same old problems, just now you could throw more money at them, which isn't nothing, but it also doesn't teach you how to go out and actually make more money for yourself. You're putting your power in the hands of something else. So wouldn't you rather be happy and learn how to make $1 million? Because then you can make it again, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so what this means is that we're very bad at predicting what is going to make us happy in our lives. We give our power to things that are outside of us, expecting that those things will make us happy, when in reality, they rarely, rarely do. So what does that mean? That means that it's our responsibility to create our happiness for ourselves. Well, how do we do that? That is the question. Now, is it really true that nothing outside of ourselves can make us happy or make us unhappy? No, actually, there are a lot of things that can actually help us to be happy. But the thing is, we have to be aware of them in the present moment and what they actually are. So certainly winning the lottery, like getting handed that big check, would make you happy in the moment, absolutely, right? But what are you going to do? Are you going to win the lottery every week? No, probably not. If you figure out how to do that, let me know. But that sounds like it's probably illegal, and you'll end up in jail, which will probably not make you happy for a while, until your baseline happiness returns, and then you'll probably just be about as happy as you were before you went into jail. But let's avoid that, because nobody likes a carceral state. So if your baseline happiness is generally the same after about 3 months, Dan Gilbert says, about 3 months after that incident, it returns to about where it was before. There's not a lot that can happen to you that will have a lasting happiness effect that will last longer than 3 months. So, and you notice that's about like your honeymoon phase in a relationship too. Maybe some it's like, a little more like 6 months. Maybe you're still making each other happy for a little while, but it's around the 6 month mark at least where you realize that this person is not going to solve all your problems, and sometimes even sooner. So how do you create happiness in that moment? Well, you have to tune into the things that are making you happy in that moment. As I said, if you were to win the lottery every week, that'd be great. Although certainly after a while you would get bored of it, right? It would be like, oh, I'm just doing this. Yeah, this week I have to go collect my check for $1 million again. Boring, So, so the key really is to figure out what's making you happy in the moment. And to do that, I recommend everyone keep a mood journal. There's also an app you can use called Mood Meter. It's like, I think it's like $1.99 or maybe 99 cents. Might even be free. I'm not sure. I downloaded it a while ago. I don't even use it anymore because I've assimilated that ability into my mind to, do the functions that the app was doing for me. I'm now able to do just with my unconscious, because I programmed it to do that. But what Mood Meters does essentially is you open it, you log in, and you check off on a grid system where your happiness levels are, and it has 4 quadrants in the grid. And the top half is high energy and bottom half is low energy, and one half is happy and the other half is positive emotions and the other half is negative. So if you have like high energy negative, that would be like rage, anger, right? High energy and negative. High energy positive would be like enthusiasm, excitement, like so stoked about life. Your low energy positive would be mellow, blissful, calm, chillaxin, and your low energy negative would be like despair, depression, all that jazz, the blues, the moody blues. So you log into the app, you check which kind of part of the XY axis grid you currently land on with your mood. And then this is the important part. The next step it's going to do is say, okay, what were you doing immediately before this? And you're like, well, I was eating sushi with a friend, or I was at work, or I was at whatever. And over time, you're going to start to notice patterns of like, wow, I really feel good when I hang out with this person. I feel really inspired. Like when we get coffee together, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I can conquer the world now. Like that's really good. I'm gonna do that, or if it's maybe you have a job situation that you really don't like and your boss is really driving you crazy, so you notice that you're like, oh my god, I'm feeling anxiety right now, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling upset, and you're like, what? Mood meter's going to ask you, what were you doing right before this? And it was like, well, actually, I was having a dialogue with my boss about my job performance, and I really didn't feel that they were very compassionate with me, and that they were very supportive of my work here at this company, right? And that's the point where you want to start looking at that and being like, I have some real evidence here now for what's making me happy versus what's making me miserable. And you can do that on the Mood Meter app, but you can also just do that in a journal. You can just do that in a notebook if you want to. Whatever works for you. There's a bunch of mood tracking apps too. I haven't tried them all by far, so find what works for you. But the key is start being aware in the moment of the things you're doing and whether they're making you happy or not. One of the great examples of where this can really show up in your life is where you might think being in a relationship will make you really happy, and that's why you stay in one. But maybe your partner is actually treating you really badly and you're fighting all the time. And you stay in that relationship because you have this belief that, hey, if I'm in a relationship, I should be happy, right? Like, that's what I wanted when I was single and I was so lonely. Now I'm in a relationship, I gotta keep that, or else I'm not gonna be happy when I'm single again, because I remember I wasn't happy before then either. Well, it could be that that belief is actually keeping you in a relationship that's actually making you more miserable than you would if you were just okay being single and sourced your happiness from other places. So things I started noticing that made me happy was, I liked going to classes and learning things, and I loved going for sushi with my friends, and there were things that I liked doing on my own. My cat makes me really happy, at least when he's not climbing around on the table. He's being good right now. He's just chilling out in a chair over there. And people that I thought should be making me happy, like partners I was in relationships with, were actually making me miserable. I was feeling awful because they texted me and they, said something that made me think that they were going to leave me or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I have to hang on to this relationship. I have to hang on to this relationship. Meanwhile, in my body, I'm feeling all kinds of anxiety and upset that I'm not, attributing rightfully and getting to a point where I can actually curate my experience moment by moment. So this is what I mean when I refer to things like emotional self-mastery. If I know in the moment how I'm feeling, then I can look at that and I can say, all right, what's wrong with this picture? Or what's right with this picture? What do I want to do that keeps working? That's why I started doing more and more of the work that I do, not just because I'm good at it or it helps people, but I noticed that, if I jump on a call with a client, sometimes like 10 minutes before the call, I'll be like, I don't want to jump on a call today. I'm feeling lazy. Like, I want to, cuddle my cat, or I want to play this stupid game I was playing, or I want to check my Facebook, but I got to call my client or whatever. But then I get off the phone and I'm like pumped. I'm like, I feel great. I'm like, I've just helped someone today. And, like I got to geek out about all these cool things about the ways that our minds work. And in doing that, I feel good, I'm like, now I want to clean my house or whatever. Whereas if I just slept in all day or just like lounged around and played on Facebook all day, I wouldn't have felt that way. So doing my work, actually, it's not even just that hopefully it's beneficial to the world, one always hopes that about their work, but it's also really good for me too, which is why I keep doing it. So one of many reasons. So if you want to start getting happier immediately and forming that habit so that you can go forward, that is the number one practice that I recommend. Keep a journal or use an app, track your mood, and start actually studying almost with a scientific dispassion things that make you happy versus things that make you unhappy, right? The classic example is always like going to the gym. Like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, fuck, I don't want to go to the gym. Like, that's, who wants to get out of bed? I want to sleep in, right? But 2 hours later, if you had slept in, you'd be still feeling lazy and lethargic, and you'd be feeling, probably still sleepy too, and also you'd be feeling guilty because you're like, I said I was going to go to the gym today, and then I didn't, and I kind of regret that now. Whereas if you just move through that initial resistance and you say, I am going to get up and I am going to go to the gym, and 2 hours later you're like, I went to the gym today, I feel accomplished, I feel pumped, I have my adrenaline pumping, and all these I had so many endorphins released in my brain that now I feel like I could conquer the world, right? But you don't think of that sometimes when that alarm goes off and you're like, oh my God, you're just like, I don't want to go to the gym today. So So in order to really set ourselves up for success, set ourselves up for more and more happiness, we have to start taking a very critical, very objective look at the things that actually make us happy, because they're not always what we think that they're going to be. And if you start keeping track of that, whether it's in a journal or an app, I guarantee you, give it a couple months and really be mindful of the choices you're making day by day, and choose those things that do put you in that state of happiness, and keep up with it too. Maybe something changes, maybe going to classes for a little while made you happy, but after a while you're just not getting the same fulfillment out of them. Whatever that is, whatever it is, stay on top of that, and I guarantee it's going to make a huge difference in your life. So thanks again for tuning in. If you want more amazing content like this, more secrets and hacks that are going to get you results really, really fast, surprisingly fast. I wish I had known about them when I was 25. Please go and check out the links below in the description box. Check us out at the Repatterning Project. Join us in the Repatterning Parlor. And of course, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you about more of the questions that you have about optimizing your life for your happiness and success. Thank you again for joining in, and I will see you next time.